What's going on, Internet? And welcome to another but different ARFCOM review. Today, we are doing a different type of review, and instead of doing marketing material, Jeff said, that's stupid, do baseline facts over your feelings. So he developed a pretty cool course of fire, and we took all of our personal opinions out of it. My feelings were still hurt, but we did get some really good data out of this. So we'll showcase this new type of thing. If you guys like it, sit down and get your helmets on because we're probably going to hurt your feelings. But until then, you can get a quick word from our sponsors, and then we will get into this review.
Today's title sponsor is TNVC.com, your source for good old-fashioned all-American night vision, just like Mom used to make.
See at nighttime. Nighttime seeing is important. Don't you want to see things? Seeing things is better. What's wrong with you? You don't want to see things. TNVC.
And by Vault Pro, proudly manufacturing the finest American-made safes, vault doors, safe rooms, and storm shelters. When you buy from Vault Pro, your safety, security, and privacy is their only priority. Vault Pro has never and will never release your information to another party. And by PWS, now offering their advanced BDE suppressors in 4 caliber options, 7.62, 9mm, 22, and 5.56. These suppressors offer revolutionary sound control, all while remaining lightweight and tough. Easy to clean, easy to install, and easy to maintain. These suppressors will make shooting even better than it was before.
Okay. So I'm new to this. Y'all have done this in the past. Jeff, for those of you that don't know, is at the very minimum a better shooter than both me and Paul. So from qualifications alone, that's demonstrated in the footage. Hopefully the camera angle doesn't catch our targets, but Jeff, assuming we would edit that out, made numbers for us, so we can't even lie about it. But
That's
explain,
the facts.
Explain the course of fire, why we decided on the course of fire, and then we can talk about how the gun actually did.
We have 4 stages, right?
Yeah.
And we started with the first stage, which is a skills test that we've been using within Trident Concepts for about 20 plus years. So 25 all the way down to the 3. You do work from the holster, from the low ready, body shots, headshots, strong hand only, got a bunch of gun manipulation. So it's a really good assessment, right? In that test, I thought everybody did really well. Like, I mean, we saw everybody score really high. I know that you guys are still on the JV scoring system, which is just hit or miss versus the 4 score. But even then, that's solid work.
And even with the test, and it, mine's a little different because we do have a red dot, and normally I don't shoot with a red dot, and my numbers are skewed because I have less data than y'all do. I have my Glock and then this.
Yeah, I mean, we've shot about 15-ish guns on this test, so we'll have all the stats up.
They have very good data. I'm the control here.
We have a lot of data.
Yeah.
Not all of it's good.
But the grouping also, I was really surprised with for how none of, like, ergonomically, it's very different than what I'm used to shooting. That on that first one, my first 2 rounds, you made fun of me because I put them right in this dude's belly button.
I didn't make fun of you, just drew that out as
But it was a nice, beautiful pair where I realized I was doing something incorrect.
Belly fat.
But
good job.
But it was very easy to correct.
Yeah.
On that first, and it didn't run. I didn't run into issues after that. And then my score, if it wasn't for the first 2 shots,
I agree.
Yeah.
You would have done a lot better. So if you had sucked less on those,
sucked less on the first 2,
you would have been good.
I will say this: it was a nice pair. It was a nice grouping on these 2 that I screwed up, but they were. It was a good.
And you know what's funny is, like, that was the first time you ran this. Everybody had no. Well, you had some time on the gun prior, but Paul and I had no time on the gun. I didn't even dry fire, stuck it in the holster, and we ran with it.
For context, majority of the time, almost
every
single one of these tests has always been cold without us having dry fired or handled the firearm. We just take it out, boom, out of the box. Let's see how it performs.
Absolutely. And when I saw your performance after that first test, I was like, damn, I was like, okay. And, so that test leads us to the next test, which is our Pistol Standards Bravo, which is a variation of the Larry Vickers test. And so you do 9, reload 1, you shoot it at the 10-yard line. It's a par time, about 10 seconds. And we shoot it for score. And what was interesting was the hits just kept on coming. You guys did outstanding. And that's a drill that you gotta stay fast on the trigger. You're trying to shoot for the highest score possible. So you got to shoot fast, but you got to still also be accurate. You want to try to get as many in the 10 or at least the 9. And man, again, another great performance. And Josh, I think that's when we started to see you kind of climb out of your shell on that one.
I think
you're sucked less shell.
Yeah, I sucked less, but I think it really comes down to, I think this has a pretty low bore axis for a semi-auto pistol, especially a striker-fired one. And then we had talked about, like, it's a good weird trigger. I'm not a fan of the SIG triggers because I don't think the wall's defined enough. But I have the opposite effect on a Glock where it's like a very hard wall, but it's a longer trigger pull.
I was just gonna say, how can you actually badmouth anything if you're shooting a Glock? How can you badmouth other people's triggers if you're shooting a Glock?
I am the trash talking about trash. Normally, when you shoot a gun fast, I ran into this when I shot the 226. I ran into this a lot with the 1911, which I like shooting. I'll run into issues where like I feel like the gun's getting away from me at times.
Yes.
And with this, I didn't feel that. It was very like I didn't feel myself thinking my grip needs to be a little different, or I'm not on the gun the same. Like this was a very intuitive, and you're not even a fan of the grip angle.
I'm not, and
it's still.
I had a similar kind of experience too. I felt like I was like, wow, this thing is really returning to point of aim pretty quickly, pretty reliably, and I found myself, oh wait, shit, I gotta shoot. Oh, hurry up.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting on the gun. The gun's waiting on me.
It's an odd praise to give a firearm.
Yeah.
Typically, every time, whether it's the 320X compact, I had issues with dropping the magazine. There was always something with a gun, some quirk that as you're shooting it, because it's the first time you're getting your hands on it, you're trying to figure it out, you're adjusting, you're making adjustments. I didn't think about the gun when I was shooting, at all.
Yeah.
Which is an odd praise, but it's probably the best praise I can get.
I would say
there
so.
was nothing that I had to figure out. It just...
The nice thing about it, I think, was because you were, nothing was like surfacing for you.
Right.
You were able to stay hyper focused on the actual marksmanship fundamentals, and just do your thing, and not have to worry about what sort of negative feedback you might have been getting from the gun. So yeah, that was an actually very interesting observation, and we see that a little bit later with some of the other stuff. Like the third test is more of a precision accuracy test. You step back to the 20-yard line, you shoot it on a bullseye. Maximum score value, it's timed only because we want to put a little bit of pressure, but it's like a 2-second split, so you've got plenty of time, and nobody was even close to the running out of the
like
park.
8 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
He was like, I didn't get out of the holster the right way.
and that's a drill where you have the potential to be as accurate as possible and really see, and the 10-yard drill is nice because that's the maximum. That's kind of like the maximum for defensive gun uses. So we doubled the distance to the 20-yard line for the bullseye, thinking, okay, well that is absolutely hypothetically the farthest that you probably will ever shoot, and everybody shot really well. Even though, we could have done better. The bottom line was the precision that this thing was putting out was more than necessary for any type of defensive gun use that you're going to come into contact with.
It's interesting when we do some of the OSD videos. We talked about one of them specifically. We talked about can you take a headshot at extended distance, and they made fun of me because they were like, "Well, Josh is carrying the Glock." You're like, "Throw a prayer. Let's make sure you get a gun, and then I'll crack a roundup." But with this, it really and part of this is the red dot. I don't have a red dot on my Glock. I carry irons. I'm the trash. Don't worry. I know. I hear it. That probably has something to do with it being easier to even just see and get the sights on for me personally.
Sure.
Because I'm not used to having a red dot, and I do think that might skew my data, but it really doesn't with y'all who have had other opportunities to do that. And it's like, it's not that you have a CZ that's got a red dot on it. You have red dots on pistols. It should have had less of an effect on y'all, but your score difference is interesting.
It is.
It's not new to you. But the score difference, and we'll get to that, the score difference for you is weird.
Yeah, it really was. The final test is 5-yard in. It's a 5-yard roundup, so it's a great test. You're going to shoot from the holster. You're going to shoot from the low ready. You got strong hand only, you got weak hand only, but it's all done from 5 yards, so that's like really danger close inside of that defensive gun use range. And it's got a fast part time. You got to hustle to get through those. What I found was, shooting a little bit under pressure, that's where you start to see the wheels start to come off, and honestly, we did it. In fact, Josh, when we put the gun in only one of your hands,
I did better. You did
so much better.
It was like a perk.
I don't know what the hell was happening there, but that's one thing I remember vividly. Is like, holy shit! I look over at Paul, and Paul's like doing the same thing. He's like, damn.
Bobby peeks out from behind the camera and is like, I was literally about to talk shit about your shooting, and then you did that.
So it's true. I mean, that test is a great test because you just got to open up the throttle and just hold on and just try to do the best that you can.
Right.
And it surprised me that at that hyper rate of speed that you can still really be accurate.
I think what's probably affecting that, grip texture matters. I think if the gun was slipping around your hand, we'd struggle with that a bit. Lower bore axis could probably have a difference in that. And then it being a full-size 9mm handgun probably makes it towards jumping around a little less on you. But I thought it was weird that I really didn't, obviously there's a huge difference between shooting one-handed and two-handed, unless you're me, it gets better for some odd reason. But but like it didn't, like I said before, it never felt, even in a compressed timeline, and I chuckle with you, I don't know if the footage will catch any of this, had to like cheat in the holster. He was struggle busing.
I was not locking it in because I was having such a freaking hard.
It's a little Black Hawk Omnivores. It's got a thumb released on it, and every single time he's like trying to kidney shot himself.
Yeah.
To get this.
I
out of
was
the key. Yeah.
pushing down, hitting the button, trying to get that release, and then pop it.
But despite that,
Yeah.
and despite you like having to, like his split times were easily half of mine. Like that, you were really having to get on the gun, but then the gun never felt like it was getting away. And then even for me, that I would come out and present, and I do the little red dot wiggle for a second.
I did a wiggle or two. Yeah.
But even with that, because you're losing time, that's you not shooting. That's you're like, I am not prepared to shoot because I don't feel comfortable. I can't guarantee the hit.
Yep.
But like once I got on it, and even if I had to rush it, the gun never. Once I started shooting, the gun never felt like it was getting away from me. And I think I'm not an engineer, and it's not my feelings on it. It's hitting the target was easy.
Yeah.
That's really the crux of the whole thing. Is
I think so too.
Yeah.
And so now we talk about the scores overall, and I think it's important that we kind of share what happens here. So we start off by shooting a baseline with your favorite gun, the gun you feel like you can shoot the best. We'll put the score up as far as that's your baseline. So we compare all the other guns to that baseline. So we have a known working with the unknowns. And then we take all of the other guns that we shoot and we start to create averages for everything. And, then we take that average and we compare that to your baselines, just kind of keep everything honest. And, overall, Paul, you shot a fantastic, your test score for all four of those tests was a 91. Whereas previously you were in the 77 category. You've shot better with a gun, but averaged-wise, that was still pretty interesting. What I loved was the difference in your performance overall, which was an 18% improvement.
That's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
If we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 percentage points, you get to 5
You had a good
now,
day or a bad day.
You get to 5 and things get interesting. You're at 10, you better start paying attention.
Right.
Because there's something definitely going on there. And, Josh, on your end, we saw something similar. Now, granted, we only have a very small sampling, only 2 for you.
I'm the least, not a control, but at the very least, I got a very similar experience.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We can look at that and see that. And so you saw an 11% improvement. So again, we get into that 10% or more range.
11% improvement over the gun he's carried and shoots all the time.
Well, I was going to say,
Correct.
on this channel, I have done training classes with it. You've probably seen me on camera shoot that Glock at least 3,000 or 4,000 rounds on camera for this show. Only. That doesn't include personal shooting or whatever. I was lucky enough I got to do the review with this guy. About 6 months ago, I got to shoot a couple hundred rounds through it. I think I may be at like 400 or 500 total. I did it with OSD.
Yeah.
The dumb thing, and I happen to remember while we were there, we had to do the kettlebell. Under stress OSD.
Yeah.
And I remember him being really proud of me that day and me completely forgetting I had this gun in my hands.
That's right.
I probably even went home and was like, with my wife, I was like, hey, I'm dangerous with this thing according to Jeff.
Watch
And I was
out.
like, nope,
Watch
it's the gun
out.
at work in a safe.
Yeah, that's
that
too
I did
funny.
a lot better at.
For context, OSD is Observational Skills Development. It's a series on training, and we will link that video below if you want to watch it.
But in every single of those instances, these are either compressed timelines or under stress. So like, you don't notice the ergonomics as much. In our qualitative reviews that we normally do, we talk about, I like the trigger, or I don't like the trigger.
Exactly.
Or I like the slider,
The cuts
or I don't
are
like
great.
the slider.
I like the cut back here. It sits
This is
low.
a
You can
pure-
co-witness
Comes
the
in a
dot.
pretty box.
Yeah. If I was getting, and it's kind of why I like, you brought this up one time about competitions, and it's like, the cool thing about a competition is if this was a gunfight, I would have beat this many people. You know what I mean? And then really when you start to look at the stats, and you mentioned this before, it's like, if you could shoot 10% better in a gunfight, would you take that?
Yeah. Exactly. I
Yes.
know. That's
How much do I got to pay for that? Where do I sign up?
So, I didn't see the same type of improvements that you guys saw. In fact, I saw 2% less on my end, but my data points are very, very, they're much more thinner.
So it's a low of 92 and a high of 94. I might be wrong, but it's really
pretty
close.
much.
It's him not struggling to hit the target. It's where he's hitting the hit target. So it's
91 to 93 to be fair.
Yeah.
But
I think it's indicative of it didn't really get in your way.
That's
if you
the
saw
thing.
like a 6% decrease, it's getting in your way.
Exactly. In the past, I've had to swallow a lot of crow because I've said, I hate this gun.
Oh, there's a handful of guns that
Oh,
he
yeah.
did not want to shoot,
No.
and then would message me again. Hey, what was that again? That thing was legit.
It was, and I have to say the same thing for this one. So overall, I'm super impressed with it. It did well. I think this is a great contender for a lot of people, and price point and all that other jazz. It's probably right there for a good majority of people.
Yeah, I shot this better than I do my concealed carry gun, which is concerning.
Shameful.
But it didn't get in the way, and I think that's better than I know there are guns. I've experienced guns where ergonomically stuff gets in the way. And
So I mean, if you don't know how to shoot in the first place,
none of that matters. Yeah,
none of that matters.
Yeah.
So we do recommend you get training. If you would like to get some training with this guy right here, you can find out more about training with Jeff at TridentConcepts.com.
You can pay him to hurt your feelings. But get better.
I'd do it for free for Josh.
Yeah, exactly.
Outside of that, consider supporting our sponsors because they help make this channel possible. If you want to find us on the socials, AR15COM everywhere. If you want to check out our deals or anything like that, just Google ARFCOM deals.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
We'll put the drills in the description below. We'll also put a link to Discord and stuff like that. We should have your contact information if you guys want to get training and suck less like me. If you guys like this type of content that's considerably more quantitative as opposed to qualitative, let us know in the comment section. I do answer and read all of those questions, and we'll argue with you in the comment section.
Awesome.
Go let us know, and we will provide more of these if you'd like them.
This is mine now.